Hello everyone. Let us discuss about the theory of consumer behavior. In this module, we will be discussing about what is consumer behavior, what is meant by utility, different theories of utility, that is Cardinal analysis, law of diminishing marginal utility, consumer surplus, then ordinal approach, indifference curve analysis, consumer equilibrium, income consumption curve and price consumption curve, Hicksian decomposition of price effect into substitution effect and income effect. First of all, let us see the theory of consumer behavior. Consumer behavior is how consumers decide on the combination of goods or services to consume with their income in order to maximize their total utility at any given time. Or it is a study of individuals and organizations and how they select and use products and services. So, in order to select a combination of goods and services, the budget as well as the utility derived will be taken into consideration by the consumers. In economics, we refer to the welfare of consumers as utility. Now coming to utility, utility is the power of a commodity to satisfy the wants and needs of an individual, or the amount of satisfaction derived from a product is called utility. There is an artificial construct to measure utility. It is called utils. And utility can be divided into two, total utility and marginal utility. Total utility is the total satisfaction a person receives from consuming a particular quantity of goods. And marginal utility is the additional utility gained from consuming an additional unit of some goods. Let us take an example. Here there are two persons and they have consumed a bowl of ice cream. And the first person has derived 25 utils of satisfaction and the second one has derived 5 utils of satisfaction. So this is the meaning of utility, that is a satisfaction which is derived from a product, and we can conclude that it differs from person to person. Now coming to the theories of utility, there are mainly two theories of utility. The first one is cardinal utility, which is also called neoclassical or Marshallian theory. The second type of utility is ordinal utility or indifference curve analysis. The cardinal theory is developed by Alfred Marshall and ordinal theory is developed by John R. Hicks. Now, what is cardinal theory and ordinal theory? The cardinal theory is the theory which states that utility or satisfaction derived from a product is cardinal. That is, it is quantitative or measurable in nature and the utility is measured using utils. But ordinal theory is just opposite to that, which states that utility or satisfaction derived from a product is ordinal or qualitative or unmeasurable. If it cannot be measured, then what can be done? It can be ranked. So cardinal theory says that utility is measurable and ordinal theory says that utility is unmeasurable. Let us take an example and differentiate between cardinal theory and ordinal theory. A person is consuming pizza and burger and he says that pizza gives him 20 utils of utility and burger gives 10 utils. So here he has measured utility in utils and he has given more utils to pizza than in burger. Now in ordinal theory, the person will not be able to measure utility, but he will say which product gave him more satisfaction. And here it is written, pizza gives more satisfaction than burger. So in cardinal theory, he has a measured utility, and in ordinal theory, he has ranked the product according to the satisfaction derived. That is, pizza comes in the first rank and burger comes in the second rank. And we can see that cardinal theory is less realistic approach and ordinal theory is a more realistic approach. Now let us discuss the cardinal theory or cardinal analysis in detail. Actually, this is put forward by or developed by a classical economist, Gaussen of Germany, and this was later on developed by Alfred Marshall. This theory is also known as neoclassical theory or Marshallian utility theory. This theory states that utility is measurable thing, just like weight, height, length, temperature, etc. And it is measured in numbers 1, 2, 3. That is why it is called cardinal. And there are certain assumptions on the basis of which cardinal theory is developed. The assumptions are utility is a measurable concept, and every consumer is rational, and he intends to maximize his satisfaction. Also, the consumer's income is limited, and when a person consumes more and more of a quantities of a particular commodity, his utility tends to diminish. And utilities are independent is another assumption, and the marginal utility of money remains constant, etc. are the various assumptions. Now let us see a term called consumer equilibrium. It is a concept, and it occurs when the consumer has spent all his income and the marginal utilities per rupee spent on each good purchased are equal. That is, the money spent and the satisfaction or utility derived are equal. We know that every person wants to maximize his satisfaction, right, by spending the amount which is with him. So um, the person will be spending the money so that he will get maximum satisfaction. So he will be selecting those combinations of products which will give him maximum satisfaction. So consumer equilibrium is a point where the consumer gets maximum satisfaction out of the amount or income spent by him. The consumer equilibrium is shown through a graphical representation. In this graph, we can see that budget line is there, as well as indifference curves are there. There are 4 indifference curve, and there is a point where one of the indifference curve intersects the budget line. So that point where the indifference curve intersects budget line is called the consumer's equilibrium. Now let us see what is law of diminishing marginal utility. From the name itself, we can see that marginal utility diminishes. So this law is based on human needs or wants. This law was first developed by a German economist, H.H. Gaussen, and it is also known as Gaussen's first law. Later on, it was popularized by Professor Alfred Marshall. The law states that when a person consumes more and more units of a commodity, each successive unit gives him lesser and lesser satisfaction. Or in other words, more and more units of a commodity are consumed, the total utility from the commodity increases at a diminishing rate and may become negative. And in the words of Alfred Marshall, it is an additional benefit which a person derives from a given increase of a stock of a thing diminishes with every increase in the stock that he already has. This picture shows the law of diminishing marginal utility. We can see that the person is consuming more and more units of soft drink, and his satisfaction or utility keeps on decreasing or diminishing. There are certain assumptions for law of diminishing marginal utility. They are the taste, preference, income, etc. of the consumer remains constant. The units of goods are identical or similar. The process of consumption is continuous. That is, it will be taking place at the same time. Unit of goods are normal in size. The price is also constant. Utility is a measurable concept, and we can see that law of diminishing marginal utility is based on the cardinal law of utility. here also we states that utility is a measurable concept. This is a pictorial or graphical representation of total utility, marginal utility and law of diminishing marginal utility. We can understand these three concepts from this single graph. We can see that the units of goods consumed, good X consumed is increasing from 0 to 5, and in the second column the total utility, we can see that when the number of units is increasing, number of units consumed is increasing, total unit utility is increasing, that is 0 to 40. It has reached from 0 to 40. But the third column, we can see that it is marginal utility and it is keeping on diminishing. So marginal utility is a utility derived from consuming additional unit, right? So when number of units increases, the marginal utility tends to decrease. And there are two graphs. In the first graph, we can see the total utility concept explained or plotted, and the second graph, marginal utility is plotted. The first graph is increasing in nature, and the second graph, we can see that marginal utility graph is diminishing in nature. There are certain exceptions to the law of diminishing marginal utility. We can see that in case of money, rare and antique collections, and in case of habitual or addictive goods, this law will not be applicable. And in case of persons with abnormal state of mind, the law will not be applicable. Also, in case of expensive and durable commodity, there will not be any diminishing marginal utility. Um, if the goods consumed are heterogeneous in nature or they are not homogeneous, then there will not be any diminishing marginal utility. And if the taste and preference of the consumers keep on changing, and the consumers income also, if they are changing in nature, then there will not be any law of diminishing marginal utility applied in such cases. Also, if we are consuming products at different time periods, then there will not be any diminishing marginal utility. So these are the exceptions. Now, there are certain practical implications or importance for the law of diminishing marginal utility. They are, it forms the basis for other law. It tends to explain the equitable distribution of wealth, or it helps in taxation process. Also, it initiates variety in production. This particular concept explains diamond water paradox also. Now let us see what is consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is also called buyer surplus, and this particular concept is put forward by A.J. Dupuit in 1844 and later on developed by Marshall. It is an economic measure of a consumer's excess benefit. That is, we have seen that demand is based on consumers' willingness to pay. So, consumer surplus means the difference between a consumer's willingness to pay for a product and what he actually pay. That is, if I am willing to pay 20 rupees for a product and if I am getting that particular product for 10 rupees, the difference between 20 and 10, that is 10. That is called consumer surplus. So, a consumer surplus occurs when consumers' willingness to pay for a product is greater than its market price. And this particular concept is based on the theory of marginal utility. So these are the equations of consumer surplus. What we are willing to pay minus what we actually pay, or total utility minus total amount spent, total utility minus market price into quantity purchased. This is a graphical representation of consumer surplus. Now there are certain assumptions of consumer surplus theory. They are, it is somewhat similar to the cardinal theory of utility. That is, utility is a measurable entity and no substitute is available for the commodity under consideration. And ceteris paribus, which means that the consumer's taste, preference, income, etc. are constant or it is not changing. And the next assumption is that marginal utility of money is remaining constant, and there is application of law of diminishing marginal utility. and products are having independent marginal utility. Now let us go into the ordinal approach or indifference curve analysis. Ordinal approach is put forward by modern economists like Edgeworth. He put forward this theory in 1881, and later on Hicks and his friend Ellen developed it in 1934. This theory states that utility is a psychological or subjective concept, that it is not cardinal but ordinal. That is, it cannot be measured but only be ranked. For discussing the ordinal theory in detail, first let us see what is a budget line or price line. It is a quantity of two goods bought at their fixed prices with the available income. That is a combination of two goods which can be bought with the available income of a person, taking into consideration the price of the commodities. Here is an example. There are two products, coffee and samosa. The price of the products are given as well as the budget is given. That is, a person is having 50 rupees and coffee costs him 5 rupees and one samosa costs him 10 rupees. And in this table we can see different combinations of coffee and samosa within the 50 rupees, within the budget of 50 rupees. So this is called a budget line or price line. If we plot the above seen combinations of two products in a graph, we will get this budget line or price line, a line which touches both y-axis and x-axis. That is called the price line or budget line, and it shows a different combination of two products at a given price and income. Now let us see what is an indifference curve. In the previous example, we have discussed different combinations of samosa and coffee. Here we have taken three combinations, 3 samosa, 1 coffee, 2 samosa, 2 coffee, 1 samosa and 3 coffee. And if we are giving options for a person to choose any one from these three options, and if that person, that is consumer, he is okay with all the options in front of him, then we can say that he is indifferent towards all the options. That is, he is okay with all the three combinations. That indifference mindset, he is having same utility. He can derive same utility from all the combinations. That mindset is called indifference mindset, and that is called indifference curve. So an indifference curve is a curve that represents all the combination of goods that gives the same satisfaction to the consumers. Since all the combinations give the person same level of satisfaction, the consumer prefers them equally. Hence, the name is given as indifference curve. It is also called iso-utility curves. This particular graph shows an example of indifference curve. Two products are there, wheat and rice, and we have arrived at an indifference curve AB, which shows different combinations of wheat and rice, which are giving the person same utility. Now there is indifference map. An indifference map is a set of indifference curve. If we are showing more than one indifference curve, or if we are taking more than one indifference curve, then we can term that set as an indifference map. So this is a graphical representation of an indifference map. Now let us go into another concept, marginal rate of substitution. It is based on the indifference curve or ordinal theory of utility. Marginal rate of substitution or MRS means the rate at which a person or a consumer is prepared or willing to exchange a good X for good Y. Let us take an example. Here two goods are taken and the different combinations of these two goods, that is food and clothing, are given in the table. While examining the four combinations depicted in the table, we can see that the consumption of food, units consumed of food is keeping on increasing, and units consumed of clothing is diminishing in nature or decreasing in nature. So in the first combination we can see 1 unit of food and 12 unit of clothing. In the second combination we can see that the unit consumed of food increased from 1 to 2, whereas clothing decreased from 12 to 6. That is, for consuming one more additional unit of food, the person has sacrificed 6 units of clothing. So the difference 6 is termed as MRS or marginal rate of substitution. Again, when coming to the third combination, we can see that food again increased by 1 unit, it becomes 3. From 2 it becomes 3, and clothing from 6 it decreased to 4. So the difference between 6 and 4, that is 2. 2 is the marginal rate of substitution. Like that we find out the marginal rate of substitution, which is a rate at which a consumer is willing to exchange a particular product for the consumption of another product. There are certain properties of an indifference curve. The first one is that the indifference curve slopes downwards to the right, and indifference curve is convex to the origin. This is because of the diminishing marginal rate of substitution, which we have discussed just now. And if the two commodities taken are perfect substitutes for each other, then the indifference curve will be a straight line. If the two products are perfect complement goods, then the indifference curve will be L-shaped. And for normal goods, like we have seen before, the indifference curve will be a curve in nature, and it will be convex to the origin. Another property of indifference curve is that it will not intersect each other. Also, they need not be parallel to each other either. A higher indifference curve indicates a higher level of satisfaction, and a lower indifference curve shows that there is a lower level of satisfaction. Also, an indifference curve will not touch any of the axes, that it will not be touching x-axis or y-axis. These are the different shapes of an indifference curve. In the first figure, it is the indifference curve of normal products. Second one is the indifference curve of perfect substitutes. And the third L-shaped curve is the indifference curve of perfect complementary goods. These are the uses of indifference curve or the practical implications of indifference curve. That is, it helps in the theory of production, theory of exchange. It helps in the taxation process. It helps in measuring the consumer surplus. Also, it contributes to the field of rationing. These are the criticisms of indifference curve. That is, it is an old wine in new bottle. That is, there is nothing new in case of indifference curve. It deals with only two products. There is an assumption of rationality, which is not practical like that. Then the market behavior or the consumer behavior is ignored. It is based on perfect competition assumption, and it is microeconomic in nature. It is a theoretical assumption. The assumption of perfect divisibility of product is there, which is not there in practical sense, and it fails to explain consumer behavior under risk and uncertainty. Now let us see what is an income effect, or what is income consumption curve. Income effect is the effect of change in consumer's income on his total satisfaction or utility, or on demand or on purchase of two commodities when all other factors remains the same. Or it is the effect of change in income on the quantity demanded or consumer's equilibrium. There are two different effects of change in income. The first one is increase in income, which lead to upward shift of budget line, and decrease in income which causes downward shift in budget line. So change in income causes the budget line to shift upward and downward. This is a graphical representation of income consumption curve. We can see that when income keeps on increasing, the budget line moves upward, and when it decreases, the budget line will be moving downwards. Income consumption curve, or ICC, is also called income offer curve, income expansion path, etc. It is a graphical representation of change in income and the direction of change in budget line or quantity demanded. Now let us see what is the relationship between nature of commodity and income consumption curve. So we have already seen that commodities are of different type, normal goods, inferior goods, superior goods, etc. So there are two types of income effect, that is positive income effect and negative income effect. A positive income effect happens when both the goods, the combinations taken, both the goods are normal goods. In that case, positive income effect will lead to increase in income, which leads to increase in demand, and there will be a positive or upward slope for income consumption curve. So positive income effect is there in case of normal goods, when both the commodities are normal. Now there comes negative income effect. It happens when one good may be normal and the other one is inferior. So in such a case, a negative income effect means increase in income will be leading to decrease in demand. So we have seen that there is a positive relationship between income and demand, which will not be applicable in case of one good being inferior. In such a case, there is negative income effect. So let us take the first example where uh, income consumption curve and one good taken is inferior. So we have taken good X and good Y. Good X is inferior and good Y is normal good. So good X is taken in X axis and good Y is taken in Y axis. So income effect is positive for Y and negative for X. That is, the ICC curve rises upwards, then bend towards Y axis. That is, the curve is bending towards the normal good. So this is a graphical representation of income consumption curve in case when one good is normal and the other is inferior good. Here good X is inferior and good Y is normal, and indifference curve tend to move away from the inferior good and it bends towards the normal good. Now let us see if good X is normal and Y is inferior. We are taking just opposite of the last example. That is, we are interchanging the goods. Y becomes inferior and X becomes normal. Here the income effect is positive for good X and negative for Y. That is, income effect will be negative for the inferior good and positive for normal good. So we can see that the income consumption curve rises upwards and then bend towards X axis, that it is bending towards a normal good. So in the both examples we can see that the income consumption curve is bending towards a good towards the axis where normal good is placed. So this graph shows the condition of ICC curve. Now let us see what is price effect and the price of a curve. Price effect is the effect of change in price of a good on the quantity demanded or purchased when other factors remains the same. So here the effect of change in price is taken into consideration on the quantity of goods purchased and all other factors are remaining the same. So a price effect will lead to change in slope of budget line. In case of income effect, budget line was shifting upward and downward, but the slope remained the same. But in case of a price effect, it causes a change in slope of the budget line. And when price increases, the income decreases. That is, quantity purchased will decrease, which will lead to a shift to a lower indifference curve. That is, the budget line, the slope will change and the indifference curve will be uh, shifted towards a lower indifference curve. Now there is price offer curve or POC. It is a curve which shows a change in price of a commodity. The graphical representation of price effect is shown through POC. So demand of commodity Y decreases due to increase in price of commodity X. Then POC will be downward sloping, and if the demand of commodity Y increases due to increase in decrease in price of commodity X, then POC will be upward sloping. And if demand for Y remains constant with change in price of commodity X, then POC will be a horizontal line. So this is a graphical representation of price effect. That is a price of a curve. We can see that AC and AB are the two budget line. The slope is changing. When the slope is shifted downward, it is shifted to a lower indifference curve. When the slope is upward or on the above, then there is a higher indifference curve. So this is a price effect. Now there is another effect called substitution effect. It is a change in quantity of a good purchased due to change in relative price of a good when income remains constant. That is, the substitution effect involves the substitution of good X for good Y or vice versa due to a change in relative price of the two goods. So, we have seen that there is substitute products. Substitution effect happens in case of substitute products. So we have discussed income effect, price effect and substitution effect, and economists often separate the impact of price or the price effect into the other two effects, that is substitution effect and income effect. That means price effect is a combination of income effect and substitution effect. When a change in price happens, it will lead to both income effect as well as substitution effect. And price effect is equal to income effect plus substitution effect. There are various methods of decomposition or splitting of price effect. That is, price effect is decomposed or divided into income effect and substitution effect. Among the different methods, there are two main methods called Hicksian method and Slutsky method. For the time being, we are only discussing the Hicksian method. The Hicksian method of decomposition of price effect is put forward by Sir John R. Hicks. The Hicksian method of decomposition is a method which is based on compensating variation in income. That is, by changing the relative price of a good while keeping the real income of the consumer constant. And according to Hicks, when the relative price of the good change, the money income of the consumer is altered in such a manner that his real purchasing power remains constant and he is neither better off nor worse off than before. That is, he continues to remain on the same indifference curve. And this concept is explained using an Hicksian approach. So, in Hicksian approach, when price of a product changes, the money income of the consumer is altered and his real income is kept constant. In such a way, the price effect is decomposed into income effect and substitution effect. Let us understand the Hicksian method using an example. Here a graph is given of product X1 and X2. There is a budget line and there is an indifference curve I1, and there is consumer equilibrium at the point EA. Right. Now, there is a price effect which is happening. That is, the price of X1, the commodity X1 is decreasing, or there is a fall in the price of X1, which uh, makes the budget line to slope upward, and a new budget line is formed. So it is shifted to a higher indifference curve, and now the consumer equilibrium is at the point EB. So the previous consumer equilibrium was EA and the newly formed consumer equilibrium is EB. And the total price effect is XA to XB. Now we have to draw a new line which is parallel to the new budget line and which is tangent to the old indifference curve. And we can see that a green dotted line is drawn, and we can see that that line is parallel to the newly found budget line and it touches the old indifference curve. Now, the new consumer equilibrium is formed at EC, where the drawn line touches the old indifference curve. So, the consumer equilibrium EA is shifted to EC. The movement from EA to EC, that is increase in quantity demanded from XA to XC, is solely in response to a change in relative price. So, the movement from XA to XC is called the substitution effect. The remainder of the total effect is due to change in real income, that is XC to XB is caused due to income effect. So through the Hicksian method, the price effect is decomposed into substitution effect, that is XA to XC, and income effect, that is XC to XB. This is how we decomposes price effect to substitution effect and income effect in case of a Hicksian method. So we have discussed consumer behavior, the theory of utility, total utility, marginal utility, ordinal, cardinal theories, income effect, price effect, substitution effect, everything in a nutshell. I hope you remember what we have already discussed in detail in our managerial economics sessions, and I hope you are clear about the different areas, and thank you so much.